Say it isn't so. Just when you thought you may never get another Hanch's How To episode, here we are with Hanch's How To's 24. I feel like when we get to 25, we got to do some type of celebration, a contest. I mean, 25, that's something. Now, look, I do have to report that it has been 9 months since the last Hanch's How To's, but I thought the content today is going to fit right in for a nugget of a how-to episode. It has been a minute for a Hanch's how-tos, but I've had some things cooking up in the how-tos kitchen, and I believe they're fully baked and they're ready for table service today on this episode. Hey, welcome back to the show, everyone. For those of you that might be new to the show, Hanch's how-tos, this segment is designed to give quick leadership nuggets. I pull these from recent coaching conversations, consulting meetings, leadership development groups. These are what you could call these real-time leadership moments. So let's just jump right into the first how-to. The first how-to today: how not to lose your leadership credibility by saying things that you shouldn't say. Uh-oh. You know, we've all heard this. You know, saying the wrong thing is like toothpaste coming out of the tube. It's easy out, but hard to get back in. So, you know, there's so much leadership jargon out there. I feel it's better left unsaid most times. Some might even say this leadership jargon that's out there, it's a little bit overbaked. And when I was thinking about this, I was talking to a peer of mine, another business consultant, and we were talking about some of the crazy things that we hear inside of our consulting opportunities sometimes that are a little overdone and maybe even come off a little bit insincere. And we began writing this list and having a little bit of fun with it. But the brevity of this is it's really hurting leadership credibility. And I think a lot of leaders aren't even aware of it. So I thought I'd give you a list of some of the top things that I hear leaders say that sound like nails on a chalkboard to me. Maybe you disagree, but hey, it's my show and I got the mic. So these are some that at least do a little report card, a little bit of leadership auditing maybe. The first one: you're doing good. Do you ever find yourself saying this as a leader? For me, now look, it's like, Jeff, isn't that a compliment? I feel you. Well, why is this problematic? You're doing good. This is non-specific. It lacks encouragement. It doesn't provide meaningful feedback, which can leave your team feeling unsure about their performance. It's very vague. You're doing good. I get it. It's a compliment. It's better than, hey, moron, I got you. But there's a better alternative. Maybe what you do is you say, hey, here's what you're doing really well. And you be specific about what that is. And here's where I think there's room for growth. Here's where I think you're doing great. Here's the opportunity for you to grow. I don't care how great people are doing. There's always opportunity to get better. But don't just tell people they're doing good. Tell them specifically what it is that they're doing good and where is their opportunity to grow. The next one is this: we don't have the budget for that. Now, you know you've said it. You know we've all said this. And you might be saying, Jeff, what's wrong with that? Like, we really don't have the budget. I get that. But here's why this is an issue. It might be true. This phrase dismisses ideas. It makes your entire team feel like suggestions they're not even worth considering. It's a conversation closer. It's an innovation killer. You might say, "What, man, I had this really good idea. I was going to run it by Jeff." Well, don't do it because we probably don't have the budget. And you're just diffusing this level of excitement on your team. What you might want to consider saying is, hey, look, we're currently in a season of budget constraints, but let's explore ways to achieve your idea with the resources that we have. Now, look, it might be a big piece of equipment that costs $1 million and you're like, it's never going to happen. What could happen? What can we do? What can we do with the resources that we have? That's a far cry from saying, forget about it. It's never going to happen. We don't have the money for that, and we're probably never going to. What you're doing is you're at least encouraging employees to keep the ideas coming. The next one is, wait for it, you need to improve your attitude. You need to improve your attitude, young man. I feel like I'm being scolded by my grandmother when I hear this, right? This is a problem. Like, who are we? Now, I get it. Jeff, they have a poor attitude and they need to improve it. I got that. But think about these words. How would you like to hear that? This is very vague. It's accusatory in nature. It provides no clear direction for improvement, and it can make somebody feel defensive immediately. Here, let's role play. You're the employee with a bad attitude, and I'm the boss, and I walk up to you and I say, you need to improve your attitude. Even if I'm right, how does that leave you feeling? Ready to fight, right? Ready to defend, ready to come back at me. What you might want to try with this employee that does have a poor attitude is maybe just repositioning that a little bit and saying, I've noticed some recent changes in your demeanor. Can we talk about what's going on and how we can work through this to get to the other side of this? Now what we're doing is what? We're collaborating. The next one, and this is something. You should be able to handle this by yourself. Have you ever heard yourself say this? I have. Usually it's in high stress situations where I have, 50 people on my pant leg and crawling on my back, and everybody's vying for my time, and more people need my time and my leadership and all of this than I have time to give, and somebody messes something up or they have a question, and I'm like, you should be able to handle this on your own by now. You've been here for 5 years. That's what we're thinking, and sometimes it just spurts right out of our mouth. Here's the problem with this. It dismisses the need for collaboration or support. And this could lead to that employee feeling frustrated. It certainly could lead to burnout. And it also sends this message that seeking help is a sign of weakness. So you know what? I would rather just go back to work and bleed out and die in my cube than ever go back to him again with any problem that I ever have. Why? Because I would rather rub dirt in it and take a lap and suck it up than to ever show my boss again that I'm weak. There's a better alternative, because obviously this needs addressed. But what you might want to say is something like this. Look, I trust you to manage this, but let's discuss how I can support you or remove any barriers. But I want you to run with this. I want to empower you. But if there's barriers or things I can do to support you, I will. But I want you to do this on your own. Now what we're doing is we're not micromanaging. We're helping them push past maybe insecurities. And we're letting them know we believe in them. We trust them. And although what the outcome might not be perfect, we trust them enough to empower them with this assignment. And my favorite, I'm being sarcastic. We're family here. Wait. Actually, we're not family here. We're not family here at this company. We're not family here at this organization. And I know some people just hit the stop button and unfollowed my show because you're a leader, you're listening, and you pride yourself on telling your entire organization, we're like a family here. That could not be further from the truth. Employees don't get to choose their family. At the end of the day, a company is a business with financial objectives and strategic goals. That's what we are. Referring to it as a family downplays the fact that decisions like layoffs, salary cuts, reorganizations, they're going to be made what? In the best interest of the company. True? Not the individual. Now look, I hope you're listening and you're a leader that's like, man, if I ever had to lay people off, it would crush me. Hands up. I've been there. I've had to lay off. There was a moment in time that I had to lay off 10% of my entire team. Had to furlough them. I felt horrible. But I'll tell you this, I'm not laying off my son. I'm not laying off my daughter. I'm not laying off my wife because they're really actually family. I'm not letting them go because things get hard at the house. Son, you know what? I've loved you for 9 years, but I got to tell you, money's really tight. And so for that reason, you're going to have to go. We can't feed you any longer. Can you imagine this? Now, look, you might be saying, Jeff, you're blowing this thing way out of proportion. Here's what we mean by family. I just prefer not to use the term. Families are supposed to be permanent. Jobs aren't. Jobs aren't. I know it would be nice to believe in this make-believe world that everybody's going to retire from our company and everything's going to be great. I would tell you this terminology of family, from the people I've talked to, it's almost a turnoff. Bonding with coworkers, creating a healthy rapport with bosses, that's one thing, and I'm here for it. Insisting that every member of the team is family, that's quite another thing. That's very jargon-ish to me. Is that a word? It's very cliche to me. Here's the truth. Your company isn't your family. The power dynamic is entirely different. Families don't determine how much money you make, where you're allowed to be from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., when you are allowed to eat lunch, or how many days you can take to recover from a sickness. Not to mention, families can't fire you. Don't you wish you could sometimes? There's differences in family and a professional relationship. Healthy workplaces create a respectful culture based in reality of a workplace. So if you're here, if you're listening and you're like, son of a gun, we've been preaching we are family for decades. And Jeff, I think you're off here. I think we actually are a family. You're actually not a family. But here, there are some safe alternatives, I believe. Instead of referring to the workplace as a family, position yourself as a team where collaboration, mutual respect, shared goals, those are the core values. Teams are accountable. They're goal-driven. You know, a phrase like, look, we're a strong team. We're working together to achieve great things. Man, this can foster camaraderie without blurred boundaries of this family narrative. I mean, people that win Super Bowls in football, they realize next year none of us may be on the same team again. But right now we are, and we're gonna go win a world championship. That is a team. And by the way, if you're going to build a team, you might as well build a dream team. And there's no apology required. Now, look, this is one guy's opinion. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Are we a family here, or is that overbaked? info@jeffhancher.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. The second how-to of the day, how to be an authentic leader. You know what I have found in leadership is that people can smell a fake a mile away. I recently had a client that hired a leader from the outside of the organization, and this newly hired leader was having a very hard time building meaningful relationships with their new team. And the owner of the company called me up and tasked me with the assignment to coach this leader in overcoming the challenge that they were having. I spoke to the leader that was newly hired, and I went through this discovery phase with them. And what I found out was that they were really a good person. They were built for leadership. They wanted to lead people for all the right reasons. I was impressed. The challenge was that they weren't really doing it the right way. They weren't onboarding into the company the right way. I would tell you they were overcompensating is what was causing this gap between leadership and this new team. They had an aggressive behavior, and they flat out told me, I am fighting for the respect of the team. I've been known in the past for being taken advantage of. So they just began overcompensating. In essence, what I needed to help them do was I needed to help them overcome their insecurity by showing them the steps to becoming a more authentic leader. And this is critical. I don't care if you're new to a team or you've been with the team for 10 years. Authenticity in leadership takes you from being a leader that people comply to being a leader that people don't want to let down. Genuine relationships are built on trust, and that trust comes from being authentic, not fake. You're not fooling anybody if you're fake. Leaders who show their true selves, who they really are, their strengths, their weaknesses, a level of emotion. I'm not saying get up and drop tears every meeting. Hear me. But when you have this level of authenticity, what you're doing is you're creating a culture of openness. So I'm going to share with you the steps that I coach this new leader on. The first thing I would tell you is to share personal stories or challenges that you've overcome. This lets people know that you're not a robot. Admit that you don't know something, or admit when you make a mistake. When you do this, it lets them know that you're a person of humility. Allow yourself to express emotions in a very controlled way. You can be emotional without losing it, right? You can do this. But when you express emotion in a controlled way, you're demonstrating that you're human and you're not just a robotic boss. Be upfront with your team about challenges. This isn't fake it till we make it. Let them know about challenges that are coming, changes that are coming, uncertainties that may be inside of the organization. Always remember that no news isn't good news. And if no news is there, people create their own narratives. Now they're always wondering, when's the shoe going to drop? What are they holding back from me? The other thing that you can do to be authentic is seek feedback from other people, especially the people that report to you. What should we stop doing? What would you change about the team? If you were in my shoes, what would you do differently? This lets people know that you don't have all the answers. You're not perfect. You don't have it all together. You need them. They need you. It's us. When you do this, be sincere. Try to form these genuine connections with others. Take time to find out what makes them tick. Get to know them. Why is success important to them? What we're trying to do here is avoid this spin that some leaders try to manipulate a little bit. And I don't think it's intentional. And it surely wasn't with this leader. Very, very good person. When you do this, you're genuinely showing interest in people, and it goes a long way in forming a connection. This is authenticity. This is the way to lead. Don't overcompensate with insecurity. Follow these steps of showing a level of emotion, sharing your mistakes, asking for feedback so that people know you're not perfect, you don't have it all together, and we need to do this as a team. Well, there it is. Another Hanch's How-Tos in the archives. I hope you take these 2 nuggets from today's show and assess how you're stacking up in these areas. You know, self-reflection, it's a great way to grow and develop your leadership impact. Until next week, keep making big leadership deposits into the team that you are so privileged to lead, and never stop turning the pressure into potential.